Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to We the Wildlife Wisdom. And so far, I've been your host, Zero Yeti, and happy Dinosaur Day. So, for this episode, we're going to be covering the Ischigualasto Formation in Argentina, which is a Triassic formation. And I figured we haven't covered a Triassic formation for Dinosaur Day yet, so this will be interesting. The first animal of the week is Eoraptor, which is a genus of basal sauropodomorph dinosaur and one of the earliest known dinosaurs to exist. It lived throughout what is now South America during the Carnian stage of the Triassic period, some 231 to 228 million years ago. The first remains of Eoraptor, consisting of a partial articulated skeleton, were unearthed in 1991 from the Valle de la Luna and the Cancha de Bocas member of the Ischigualasto Formation in Argentina by University of San Juan paleontologist Ricardo Martinez during fieldwork conducted by the University of Chicago and the University of San Juan. The specimen was shipped to the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago for preparation by William F. Simpson and Bob Masek, and then it was described by Paul Sereno, Catherine Forrester, Raymond R. Rogers, Alfredo M. Moneta in 1993. They named the animal Eoraptor lunensis, meaning dawn plunderer from the Valley of the Moon. Said holotype was later returned to Argentina, where it remains on display at the Museum of Natural Sciences. Today, there are three mostly complete Eoraptor skeletons that have been recovered, along with other isolated elements such as teeth, reaching around 3.3 to 5.7 feet or 1 to 1.7 meters in length, and around 11 to 22 pounds or 5 to 10 kilograms in weight. Eoraptor was quite small and lightly built, especially when compared to its titanic descendants, the sauropods. It was a bipedal animal capable of surprising speed and agility, with flexible five-fingered hands which sported three large claws, likely used to help capture prey. Combined with its distinctive, lightly built skull, these features caused scientists to first assign Eoraptor as a theropod. However, over time, certain skeletal morphologies and its leaf-shaped teeth led it to be reclassified as a sauropodomorph. In life, Eoraptor would have been an omnivore, feeding upon ferns, cycads, seeds, horsetails, conifers, insects, fungi, and small vertebrates. Next up is Ischigualastia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It is an extinct genus of large dicynodont therapsid in the family Stahlecuridae, which lived throughout what is now South America. I'm going to adjust my microphone one second. During the late Carnian age and the early Anorian age of the late Triassic period, some 232 to 223 million years ago. The first remains of the genus, consisting of a skull and partial skeleton, was found in the Ischigualasto formation of the Concha de Bocas member of the Ischigualasto Villa Union Basin in northwestern Argentina by Dr. James Jensen. In 1962, the specimen was described by Christopher Barry Cox as an enormous dicynodont, with a short, high skull which lacked tusks. Cox dubbed the animal Ischigualastia genense in reference to the Ischigualasto formation and James Jensen. Since then, multiple additional skulls and partial skeletons have been recovered, reaching around 9 to 14 feet or 3 to 4 meters in length and 2,000 to 4,000 pounds, 900 to 1,800 kilograms in weight. Ischigualastia is regarded as larger than its later and more famous relative Placerus, and ranks amongst the largest land animals of the Triassic. It was a big quadrupedal herbivore and the most common at the base of the Ischigualasto formation. It was a common member of the local fauna, although not as abundant as medium-sized herbivores like Hyperodapedon and Extenuatodon. The only danger to such a huge animal was the almost equally large carnivorous pseudoseuchian Saurosuchus and perhaps the predatory dinosaur Herrerasaurus. Speaking of Saurosuchus, it is the next animal, which is an extinct genus of large Loricatan pseudoseuchian archosaur, which lived throughout what is now South America during late Carnian and early Norian stages of the Triassic period, some 232-225 million years ago. The first remains of Saurosuchus, consisting of a complete, albeit deformed skull, was unearthed in 1957 from the greenish sandstone of the Concha de Bocas member of the Ischigualasto Formation in the Ischigualasto Villa Union Basin of northwestern Argentina by Galileo J. Scaglia and Leocadio Soria. This specimen was formally described in 1959 by Osvaldo Arrighi, who named the animal Saurosuchus, meaning lizard crocodile in Greek. The specific name Galilei is in honor of Galileo J. Scaglia. Since then, several more specimens of Saurosuchus have been recovered, including some partial skeletons and a mostly complete juvenile. Reaching around 18 to 23 feet, or 5.5 to 7 meters in length, and around 1,300 pounds or 590 kilograms in weight, Saurosuchus was one of the largest of the Rauisuchians. It sported a deep, laterally compressed skull and jaws filled with large, serrated, recurved teeth. The neck was short but robust, the tail long and strong, and both the front and back legs were long and heavily built for walking. This quadrupedal carnivore was likely the apex predator of the Ischigualasto Formation, living alongside and likely feeding upon creatures such as Hyperodapedon, Externerpedon, Exteratodon, Herrerasaurus, Silosuchus, Eoraptor, Trialastis, Atiosauroides, and Ischigualastia. Next up is Hyperodapedon, which is an extinct genus of rhynchosaur reptiles which lived throughout what is now Africa, Europe, India, North and South America during the Carnian stage of the late Triassic period, some 237-227 million years ago. Like other rhynchosaurs, it was a heavily built archosauromorph, distant related to archosaurs such as crocodilians, pterosaurs, and dinosaurs. The remains of Hyperodapedon, consisting of a partial skeleton, the first remains of Hyperodapedon, consisting of a partial skeleton, were discovered at the Louis Mouth Sandstone near Elgin, Scotland by Reverend Dr. Gordon, who gifted said specimen to Thomas Henry Huxley. Huxley first named the animal at a Geological Society of London conference in 1858, and then formally described the animal in 1859, dubbing it Hyperodapedon, meaning above pavement in Greek. This specimen, the specific name Gordoni, is honoring Rev. Dr. Gordon. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. Since then, hundreds of Hyperodapedon specimens have been recovered across several continents, making it one of the best studied and well understood rhynchosaurs and creatures of the Triassic in general. Today, at least 5 species are considered valid: H. gordoni, H. huxley, H. sanjuinensis, H. huini, and H. tichenensis. Reaching around 4.3 feet or 1.3 meters in length and 20 pounds or 9 kilograms in weight, Hyperodapedon was a stocky animal with thick-built limbs and a broad body. Their wide, heavily built skulls sport a distinctive blade-like beak and several rows of teeth on each side of the upper jaw and a single row on each side of the lower jaw, creating a powerful chomping action when it ate. In life, Hyperodapedon were proficient burrowers, utilizing their unique beaks and strong limbs to tunnel into the ground. These herbivorous animals also use their beaks to break apart and feed upon dense, tough vegetation, most notably seed ferns. And next up is an animal I'm struggling to pronounce, Exeratodon. Exeratodon. It is an extinct genus of traversodontid cynodont, which lived throughout what is now India and South America during the Landian stage of the Norian stage of the late Triassic period, some 235 to 205 million years ago. The naming of Externerpedon, why do I keep doing Nerpedon? Exteratodon seems to have a bit of a complicated history, with different specimens having been attributed to various genera such as Belesodon, Traversodon, Theropsis, and Ischiguanathus. but the later two genera are now considered completely synonymous with Extertodon. For example, a type specimen consisting of a near-complete skull was initially described as Balesodon argentinens in by Angel Cabrera uh, with the help of Jose Bonaparte, they distinguish it as its own genus. Today, over 200 specimens have been recovered, some in remarkably good condition, including a mother who was preserved pregnant with 2 calves. 4 species are considered valid: E. argentinus from the Ischigualasto formation of the Ischigualasto Villa Union Basin of northwestern Argentina. There's also E. major and E. riograndensis from the Santa Marina formation of the Parana Basin in southeastern Brazil. And then there's E. staticasi from the lower Malari formation of India, reaching some 5 to 6 feet or 1.5 to 1.8 meters in length and around 130 to 190 pounds or 60 to 86 kilograms in weight. Extertodon was a fairly large, low-slung creature. Despite its massive jaws and terrifying appearance, studies show that its teeth were well developed to grind vegetation, meaning that Extertodon was likely a herbivore and was one of the most numerous herbivores of southern Pangaea during the Middle and Late Triassic period. Next up, we have Pisanosaurus, which is an extinct genus of early dinosauriform reptile which lived throughout what is now South America during the Carnian stage of the Triassic period, some 231 to 227 million years ago. The first and only known specimen of Pisanosaurus, consisting of a single partial skeleton, was unearthed in 1962 by Galileo Juan Scaglia at the Hoyada del Cerro Las Lajas locality in the Ischigualasto formation of the La Rioja province of Argentina. It was later described by Argentine paleontologist Rodolfo Casamichel in 1967, who named the animal Pisanosaurus, meaning Pisano's lizard, in honor of Argentine paleontologist Juan Arnaldo Pisano of La Plata Museum, with the species name Mirti being a reference to the late Araucanian naturalist Carlos Mirti. Reaching around 3.3 to 4.3 feet or 1 to 1.3 meters in length and around 4 to 5 pounds or 1.8 to 2.7 kilograms in weight, Pisanosaurus was a small and lightly built facultative biped animal. Due in part to its fragmentary nature, Pisanosaurus has been variously interpreted as either being a very basal ornithischian dinosaur or perhaps the earliest known, or being a coelosaurid, a group of non-dinosaur dinosauriform archosaurs. The placement of Pisanosaurus is relevant and reliant on the placement of coelosaurids as a whole, a situation which in itself is much debate. While Coelosauridae is often considered a monophyletic sister group of dinosaurs, in some studies it is considered to be a paraphyletic grade ancestral to ornithischian dinosaurs as a whole. Therein, Pisanosaurus could have been both a coelosaur and a primitive ornithischian. Regardless of its taxonomic position, Pisanosaurus was a small herbivore which likely spent its life in the underbrush of coniferous forests, feeding upon various vegetation such as ferns and horsetails. And next up is Eodromeus, which is an extinct genus of probable basal theropod dinosaur which lived throughout what is now South America during the Carnian stage of the Triassic period, some 232 to 228 million years ago. The first remains now known to be Eodromeus were a crushed but nearly complete articulated skeleton which was recovered from the base of the Valle de la Luna member of the Ischigualasto formation by Argentinian paleontologist Ricardo N. Martinez and Earthwatch volunteer Jim Murphy in 1996. However, both believe it to be a new species of Eoraptor. It wouldn't be until 2011 that an in-depth review of the specimens would recognize that they warranted being classified as their own genus, which was dubbed Eodromanus, meaning dawn runner in Greek, with specific name Murphy, honoring Jim Murphy. Today, the remains of at least 6 Eodromanus specimens are known, reaching around 3.9 feet or 1.2 meters in length and 9.9 to 16 pounds or 4.5 to 7.1 kilograms in weight. Eodromanus was a small and lightly built dinosaur which had long hind limbs, making it well built for running. It had a low rectangular skull with slender lower jaw and a deep brain case. When originally described in 2011, Eodromanus was regarded as the earliest member of Theropoda. It has been continuously supported by many subsequent studies. However, there has also been some that argue Eodromanus is rather a basal-saurischian dinosaur, and possibly ancestral to theropods as a whole. What is known is that this small carnivorous dinosaur lived alongside and occasionally fed upon a variety of strange and wondrous Triassic weirdos that called the Ischigualasto Formation home. As always, take care to my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Happy Dinosaur Day!